Okay, so today I'm officially starting my homebrewed Kit Bash Space Marine army. Still working on a chapter name though. Anyway, let's get started by building all 5 Intercessors. First thing is to get rid of that chest Aquila. Now I've got nothing against the Emperor, but I prefer a nice smooth chest. While I'm pretty new to the world of Warhammer 40,000, I still really like these old classic Mark 7 looking helmets. I was able to find some great one on Archie's Forge. I also found some bionic arms to add some robotic elements, and I had a friend 3D print me some of these cool metallic shoulder pauldrons. I love the look of them, but I didn't really think about how decals would look over them until it was a little too late. Now let's drill some barrels, which you should always do. I forget to drill my barrels all the time, but I didn't this time, so hooray me! And let's get those details off the guns, shall we? There he is, looking spiffy, everything held in place with some poster tack. Been a little while since I played Space Marines, and apparently the Intercessor Sergeant can have a power weapon? Alright, how about a drill? That works with the theme of my army. Kind of a power weapon, I guess. And no, I have no idea how he fires this two-handed weapon. He also needs some robotic elements, so digging through the bit bin, I was able to find this from my Cataphan Destroyer box. Found another little robot arm from the Cataphan Destroyer box, so maybe this helps this one reload grenades in his grenade launcher. And finally, I chopped off this guy's little knife and glued on a drill. Now that all 5 have been customized, it's time to get to... I prime all 5 of them very light gray, almost white. The best way to get high saturation is to start with a white base. I wouldn't classify my scheme as speed painting, but it's definitely efficient. On simple infantry models, I wanted a quick and easy paint scheme that I could get some interesting grimdark-ish results out of. I plan on spending a lot more time on characters, and I'm looking forward to fleshing out the scheme more. Next up, we blast the entire model with Magmadroth Flame Contrast Paint. Contrast paint is nice and transparent and works really well with the white undercoat. Now I use some white ink to brighten up any pieces of the armor that would be facing upwards, catching the light. Now I cover those white highlight spots in a transparent orange ink. This ink leans more yellow, adding a yellow highlight to the armor that's kind of hard to see on camera, and frankly it's kind of hard to see in the model, but it definitely adds a variation to the armor. Next, I base coat the helmets and power packs with Vallejo Dark Gray and highlight them up with Vallejo Blue Gray Pale. I do the exact same thing to the left arm and the right leg of each model, but the first step is applied with a brush instead of an airbrush for more control, as I don't want to mess up all that pretty orange armor. Now for the kind of boring part, picking out all the details and blocking out the colors. I use a very dark gray, almost black on the undersuit of the armor and any details that will eventually be metallic. I base coat all the weapons in a light gray and add a few fun blue stripes as a detail. Once again, I'm keeping the infantry relatively simple, as I'm going to be applying the scheme to an entire army. I did decide that these blue stripes need some highlights, so I glaze up some light blue paint towards the top. Next up, I take some very dark brown and use some packaging spun to lightly tap against the edges where the paint might be chipping off. You can push this method more, say if I were to use a lighter orange color and then fill the inside of that with this dark brown, it gives more of a 3D chip effect, but for now we're keeping it simple on these basic infantry. After finishing up the details, I dry brush the metallics, which is my preferred look, as it stays out of the recesses and gives a bit more of an interesting texture instead of just slapping on metallic paint. After that, I excitedly get to try out some custom decals I had made. This is my first time using decal application products, and I'm hoping they work. I prepare the surface using micro set, then after soaking the decal in water, I transfer it smoothly. I transfer it perfectly after. Okay, oh, there goes another one. Okay, there we go, 3rd time's a charm. Once it's in place, I use micro sol to help dissolve it a little bit and really create the impression that the decal is painted on. Looks pretty good. And then I varnish the entire model with a nice gloss varnish to prepare for the oil wash. I'll be honest with you, I've had issues with over thinning oils in the past, and they get all messed up, so this may have been a bit thick. Oils are great because once they're applied, you can remove them as needed using mineral spirits, and you can get some cool texture effects by leaving them in the recesses that create excellent depth. Now that my mining marines were sufficiently grimy, I needed to add a little bit more definition using a panel liner. This stuff flows just like oil paints, and it's really easy to control with this little brush. I just like it as a finishing touch. Now that everything's dry, I go ahead and apply a satin varnish just so I can protect all the oil paints. For these bases, I'm going with relatively simple, just some cork rocks and some dirt and pebbles mixed around to simulate the cave that my guys are supposed to be stuck in. I first prime them black and then bust out some dry brushing, doing some purple and then mixing in some turquoise, trying to make it look like a dusty, dark alien cavern. Since I painted these guys on separate bases, I decided they need to be pinned. Kind of annoying, wish I just painted them on their bases. Think I'm gonna do that in the future. Just drill a little hole in there, put some pieces of paper clip and some super glue, and they ain't coming off. As a finishing touch, I take some very watered down purple paint to try and simulate some alien dust and dirt that is collected on the armored legs. It's a small detail, but I think it has a good effect. Makes it seem like they actually exist in the environment of their bases. And there we go, the first unit of my army is now done. 80 points out of 2,000. Oh my god, they're only 80 points. I haven't finalized a eye lens color yet. I tried a couple different ones out. I've got yellow, I've got green, I've got blue. Let me know what you think is the best, or if you have any other suggestions. I'm thinking green, it definitely pops the most. I also think these guys might be a smidge too dirty. I think I went a little overboard with the oil wash. I really need to reel that in the future, thin it down a bit more, and only apply it to the recesses. It's a tough line to walk. Grimdark versus just messy paint job. Overall, I'm pretty happy with them. I like how they came out, and I'm excited to get more into kit bashing with this army. Next up, I'm going to be tackling a dreadnought and a character. So look out for those, let me know what you think. I'll see you next time, boy!